Hi everybody, Richard from Small Caliber Arms Review. A while back I did a video on the Winchester Wildcat. One of the concerns about it was that, well, it's all polymer, the whole thing, other than the bolt and the barrel and a couple springs and stuff. It's an all polymer gun. The bolt slides back and forth in polymer. It's a lot of plastic. Now a lot of people have said, yeah, I don't know if I like that because it's all that polymer, all that plastic. Now materials have changed over time. The metals from 150 years ago are different than the metals today. We've gotten better at manufacturing things, and polymer plastics has really come a long way. So a lot of people were concerned, myself as one of them, that the polymer would probably wear out. Now I've fired probably about 250 to 300 rounds through this firearm so far and haven't had any issues and haven't seen any noticeable wear. I've taken it apart and cleaned it a couple times since then, but I'm going to go ahead and run another 500 rounds. I've got some Remington Thunderbolts here. These are 40 grain, clocking in at 1255 feet per second at the muzzle. I got a 500 round box here. I've got the Winchester magazine. I've got two Ruger 1022 magazines, and yes, it does use the Ruger 1022s. It will not do the bolt hold open that the Winchester magazine will do. And the Winchester magazine will work in a 1022, although it's not quite as reliable, I found. I did run it a couple times in there, and each time I would run the Winchester magazine in the 1022, I would have a couple misfeeds each time I ran it. So I only ran about 3 magazines through it, and that was enough to say I don't think it's reliable, the Winchester magazine in the 1022. The 1022 magazines are perfectly reliable in the Winchester Wildcat. Other than maybe the BX25, I did have a few issues with that too. But I'm gonna go ahead and run these 500 rounds through the Winchester Wildcat. And like I said, this is just cheap bulk ammo. This is Remington Thunderbolt, high velocity, 22 lead round nose. They've got the black oxide coating or whatever it is on them. But I'm gonna give it a try and see what it does. All right, there was 30 rounds. It went flawless. Let's load up another 30. All right, there's the 120 rounds. Let's open this thing up and look at the inside so far and see how dirty it is. All right, now the barrel is definitely warm, only 120 rounds, but remember the cool thing I like about this firearm is that you don't need any tools to field strip it. You got the little red button right there in the back. All you got to do is push that in and pull the action out. I just pulled my rear sight off. Well, it's a good thing it comes with a couple little Allen wrenches in there to put it back on. Anyways, if you look at the inside of it, you can see a little bit of wear right there on the top of the bolt. You can see the bolt face is pretty dirty. Pull the bolt out, all you got to do is pull that back and pull it right out. You can see there's a lot of carbon buildup on it and everything. It's obviously really dirty. Now I cleaned it before these 120 rounds I just fired, but to me I don't see any wear on the polymer on the rails there. The biggest thing is that the top of the bolt right there is going to be sliding back and forth in this groove down in here, and it really doesn't look like there's any wear in there either. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. Now, I said I fired about 250, 300 rounds through it, plus another 120 just now. I'm gonna keep on going. I'm not gonna clean it. I'm just gonna load some more rounds in there and try to finish off this box of 500 and see if it goes flawless too, after I put my rear sight back on. It was all sighted in and everything. Now I can see a couple little circles right there where I had tightened that screw down before. I think factory was up there. I moved it down there for the 100-yard shot. All right, that's a pretty good snug fit right there. Make sure I put my wrench back. It's another nice thing about it. If you, the fuel tools you do need are included in there. Fold that up, stick it right back in through the slot there, hook it in the front, give the button a little start, push it back in, function check it, it's ready to go. All right, guys, that was it. That was 500 rounds of Thunderbolt. Empty box, and didn't have any issues. No jams, no stovepipes, no failure to feeds, no failure to ejects. I did have a little difficulty sometimes getting the Ruger 1022 magazines in there, especially the second Ruger 1022, because the first one would be after an open bolt, so there was no resistance pushing up against the bottom of the bolt. And it seemed like they wanted to get hung up on the pin a little bit in the back there. But that was 500 rounds after the 250, 300 rounds, or whatever I'd already fired before. Let's open this thing up and look and see how dirty it is now, and see if we can see any wear in it. Okay, again, my favorite part about this whole thing is this magic red button in the back there. Just push it in and pull out your trigger group. There we go. Alright, I went ahead and got the lead Zadoo already cleaned off my hands. Of course, I'm going to get more on there now. But there's that part. And you can see down inside there, it is absolutely filthy in there. That's pretty nasty. We'll go ahead and get everything out here, get it all cleaned up, and then see what we got. One of the things I found out about cleaning this is there are a lot of little grooves and nooks and crannies in there, and it's kind of a pain to get in there. Once you get everything scrubbed up, the best way to, I guess, get it all out is if you got a compressed air source, is go ahead and blow everything out. That's what they recommend doing on the magazine anyways. They do not recommend you take it apart. Get you one of these brushes. It's got the wide end and the narrow end on it. They come in pretty handy to get in some of the places too. All right, I don't really see any significant wear. This raised area right in here, this is a little raised area there. There's a little spot right there that's raised up too. I think those are in there for where the bolt rides the most. It kind of reduces some of the friction in there, and although they're scratched up a little bit, they're not very high, and they do not appear to really have much wear to them. Let's put the bolt in there. Try to give you an idea of how it rides in there. Alright, that bolt is going to slide back and forth in there. And really, there's no real wear in there that I can see. It's really not a lot of wear in there. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. Alright, it appears to me that after the 800 rounds or so that I've fired through this thing, really there is no wear, at least none to speak of. Of course, it's only 800 rounds. Some people do that in a weekend. Some people might never do that. I've seen rifles that people have had for years that have only been fired a handful of times. But really, I mean, if you're worried about this being a polymer receiver on the thing, I don't think it's really an issue. I really think it's a good quality polymer that they use in this, and it seems to be holding up just fine. Of course, I know it's only 800 rounds, but I don't see any wear in it whatsoever. I have had no malfunctions that I know of. Maybe in the first video I might have had one or two. I did have issues with the BX25 magazine, but I think that's just the magazine itself. And I don't know why it would have had issues, but it really doesn't. Other than that, I don't seem to have any problems with this thing. I can fire it fast, I can fire it slow, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really give me any problems. It really works well. It does what it's supposed to do. Alright guys, there it is. The Winchester Wildcat all put back together. Seems to function just fine. About 800 rounds run through it, and no issues other than I pulled the rear sight off while I was out there in the range, and that's probably because I didn't tighten it down that well. My favorite thing about this rifle is the way it breaks down field strips. The one button, pull it apart. My least favorite thing about this rifle is all the little parts inside where when you spray it down with oil trying to get all that cleaned back out. That's kind of a pain to get in there. It'd be nice if it was smoother and everything, but it would add a little more to the weight. And it might actually cause a little bit of warping if they were to make those pieces solid instead of having the ribs and stuff like that in it. It stiffens it up, it keeps the weight down, and I mean, I haven't seen any issues between that steel bolt and that polymer receiver. There's no significant wear in it. Of course, I've only done 800 rounds or so through it. I'm sure that before they decided to go ahead and manufacture this, when they made their prototypes, they probably fired thousands and thousands of rounds through there and said, hey, it's good, let's go ahead and make it. And I like it. I really do. I really like the way it tears down. I do not like cleaning it. I do like taking it apart. Piece of cake. It shoots great. The tings that you heard out there on the range, those were actually 100-yard shots on an 8-inch plate, so it's not very big around. And I was able to hit them. I don't need the old man eyes for that. I can see those just fine. It's the close-up stuff that's getting me. But anyways, a pretty good rifle if you ask me. I like the design of the stock. I like the looks of it. I'm not sure why this is here, this opening on there, but maybe they'll have some accessories or something that'll snap in there later on. Who knows? Maybe they're waiting on seeing how popular it becomes. It's a pretty good rifle. It cleans up well. It functions, not any issues with it at all. It functions great. It's not bad looking. It's pretty accurate. It's easy to tear down. Not bad at all. Hey, anyways, thanks for watching Small Caliber Arms Review. If you could, hit this button up here to check out some of my other videos. Hit this button over here to subscribe if you haven't already. And I started a Patreon account, so if you could check that out and help me out some, it sure would be appreciated. Thanks for watching Small Caliber Arms Review.